Welcome again, everyone. I have another fantastic person to speak with you today, to speak with us today. I have Catherine Hidalgo. Welcome, Catherine, the Oracle, the Dragon Oracle. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to speak with you, and I'm more than excited to meet you. Yeah, finally.
Same here, same here, same here. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for welcoming me into the space. Not only that, I'm a woman of wisdom. When you said that, I thought, huh?
Well, you are. You are. You speak such truth, and I love your shares because they always resonate with me as fact, right? They always resonate
Yeah.
as fact.
And
So,
I can't speak anything but truth, and that is what the Sovereign Flame Oracle is about. Number one, dragons deal only with truth, nothing else. Which means now I understand why I can smell a lie before when I see the body coming, you
yeah,
know? And
yeah,
not only that, I can't speak anything but, and consequently, I do have to maybe not hold back, but just leave certain things alone, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
unless they matter, etc., etc. Anyway, my queen is here, the queen of dragons, people, and she
Okay.
wishes to speak. She told me that a few hours ago, and here she is. Amokin latin bakuwachinik amohat ihomat ilatu. Anjiking mahoteka latinda. Onjiking maoteka kaklotokina pakataha. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls. That was a blessing from me to all of you, from our hearts to your hearts. I had to come to share a little bit about my beloved. She's looking at me like, huh? I will tell you our story. She did not expect that. We met when she was maybe 3. This tiny, tiny little human. She was brought into my chamber. Her eyes were so large, they were like saucers. Her mouth was open as wide as it could be. And she was just staring around. And she spoke to me about my glow. I did not see a glow, but she saw a glow, a golden glow, and she said that was me, that was us. And that is how I came to know this magnificent little human. She is dragon. She has been to many planets. It took her a long time to come to this one. And what occurred after she lived on Sirius for many, many, many lifetimes, she decided, Earth School, as she calls it, finally she will go. What happened? She was brought through the universe by someone who agreed, but that someone forgot the agreement. That someone neglected her terribly. What then happened was she was put to sit outside on what you call the stoop from the time maybe she was 2 years old. And that is when we, dragons, came to befriend her, along with our other friends, other star beings, what you call ETs, and the divine ones, the angels. That is how we came into her life, to teach her We took her to school so that she would learn our language, so that she would relearn her language. And others took her throughout the universes for her to experience who she really is. She was a magnificent child and avid student. And then, not long after we met, and she was brought back constantly for us to, because we knew what was coming, for us to gather the energy, to make it coalesce, to make it powerful and strong. Because in that same year, her birth mother told her, and the exact words were, "You are costing me too much money." She did not understand, but in her tiny frame, human frame, and in human form, she understood that love was lost. In that same year, I can feel her heart speeding up a little bit. I can feel the emotion rising in her. In that same year, her birth mother took her to visit family in the countryside. And there she was violated. My little beloved, our precious one, our designated dragon oracle. She was violated. No one came to her aid. But one after, because her head was buried so that no one could hear her scream. After, a divine one came, cleaned her, swaddled her, and made her forget. He placed his finger here. She only remembered when she says yes, in her late 40s, because by then she was on her ascension, though she knew it not, though she did not know the challenges ahead, because she had to remain unaware. And so we just want to tell you, this is our beloved oracle. She has been the dragon oracle, the only dragon oracle on this planet. She is our designated voice. She is our designated voice. It matters not who speaks for us, to us, about us. She is the one and only dragon oracle. For many lifetimes, she has been precisely that on other planets with other divine ones like Hecate, Isis, and so on. But she may tell you more about that. For now, know that you, Angela, you are welcome. You are blessed. Be blessed. You are divine. Your angels look down on you. Your guides are looking down on you. And they are showering you with gold, light, sparkle, and the other symbols that you know of, that you are very familiar with. You are blessed, and all is in train. We just wish to thank you for accepting our beloved. Okay, Sovereign Flame Oracle is back.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now tell me your experience of coming into contact with the dragons as a young one. What was your perception of the dragons?
Ah,
Yes,
they had no names for me.
gotcha.
I didn't even know what they were, but they were just playmates.
Mm,
They were always around from the time I know myself.
mm,
And the angels as well, but I had no names, no conception whatsoever for any of them. Keep in mind, this is two going on three. And it has always been like that. So that is the reason why. I mean, I met so many extraterrestrial beings right here on this planet. You know, can
yeah.
you believe? People are not going to believe this. You know, there's a not Terminator, and yes, there is a planet of machines. Huh? Okay. Um, the other one, the other fighter one with with the mask that looks like tentacles or whatever it is, etc., etc. Warrior. He was a warrior, and I remember nothing scares me except me.
Mhm.
And I remember this little kid, me, going up to him. He was just standing, gazing. And I went and I stuck my hand in his. This ginormous, ginormous thing that's probably as tall as the ceiling. And he just looked down. But obviously, we communicated mind to mind. And I'm just giving this little example for you to understand that I had no words or description for any of these. And when I opened my eyes again, we were on his starship in space. Okay? So I do recall being in school, in Dragon School. I mean, classrooms are the same everywhere. I seem to be jumping around, but it's just to give little impressions of this child's um, experiences. I didn't speak. Everything was mental, right? And
Mhm.
even when here, because my birth mother was not talkative either,
Mhm.
and so there was little verbal communication. It was just a normal thing to have all of these different beings around. And I took it so much for granted, Angela, that it never occurred to me, one, to talk about it, two, to find any words to
Mm.
describe them. And this is why doing this work now, it has been an extremely difficult few years to put into words what I do.
So when did you start to contextualize it as something other? Or when did you start to label when did you get to a point of labeling it as this or as dragons or whatever?
Would you believe that was just a few years ago? Because I am a dragon.
Yeah.
So what happened was, because as my first mentor told me in this world 8 years ago, that I am very self-guided,
Mhm.
I question nothing that comes to me to do. I mean, nothing. Okay? And when I decided to call myself Soul Dancer White Dragon, it's only long after I was informed by the big kahunas, as I call them, that Soul Dancer is actually the name of your dragon. That's who
Mm.
you are.
Yeah.
Because I looked and looked and looked to find a white dragon, and it took me months until I found one that resonated.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that is the persona, but it was just a few years ago,
Yeah.
and still it's kind of difficult to separate myself,
Mm-hmm.
to say, okay, yes, I'm sovereign flame, because they are the ones who give me titles. I do not, I have
Right.
never.
Yeah.
And consequently, I walk in the world as sovereign.
Mm.
I don't have to tell anyone that I am. I am sovereign. I walk sovereign in my truth.
Yeah.
And women need to understand that, number one, everyone has a dragon guide. Number two, the dragon is not outside of you, you know. He's beneath your ribs. They are beneath your ribs. That's the power. That's the power. And when you say yes to yourself, when you say yes to yourself, that is the lineage of fire.
Mm.
And there you are sovereign flame.
Yeah.
That is what sovereign flame means, you know.
Yeah.
Um, Now, she left me kind of muddled because I had my thoughts very clear, and thank God I did a very, very deep meditation to center and ground. Because, in fact, I want to jump ahead to how I got into this.
Yeah.
Because I lost all my money. Let's say I squandered it because I didn't feel I deserved it. Because it was made clear to me from very, very young by the one who forgot her role that I deserve nothing, I deserve to have nothing. And I am there like the Cinderella type to clean up after everyone. And so Miss Millionaire became less than. Consequently, I had to return here to Trinidad, a place where I swore I would never set foot on. But it was necessary, I see now, because this land never accepted me. I never felt at home here. I mean, not a single day of my life have I ever felt welcome here. I feel like a foreigner even today. I was always very different. So, on my return, because I was even more different now, they kicked me out of the house. I knew no one here after, what, 30, maybe 40 years. And so I ended up on the street, escaped gang rape because of an amazingly, amazing Good Samaritan. From there, I ended up in a homeless shelter where I lived for 4 years. I was beaten up, abused, all sorts of things. I mean, but it's when that man who said he loved me, when he came to kill me. Listen, girl, this is no exaggeration when I say the knife blade was 12 inches long and the handle was about 6 to 8. That is embedded in my memory. And I was nice to this guy, but the second day of our meeting, of my meeting him, the second time in 3 months, he hit me in my face. When I came to, I found myself on the ground. And the reason for that, he asked me what I was looking for in a man. I'm living in a fucking homeless shelter, okay? I am not looking for one. So I told him gave him the standard spiel. You know, You gotta have a job, you gotta have a car, you gotta have your own home, you gotta have money in the bank, you gotta have goals, you gotta have this. And I don't think I finished because I got the fist in my face. And from that day onward, that was the second time we met. We spoke, not met, second time we spoke. I eventually discovered, because he told me he was a hitman for hire and he was hiding out in that shelter with the agreement of the manager because they were shaking down other residents. Okay? From his own lips. And so it ended up 2 years of abuse, chasing me down in the street, beating me up, constant police reports because I was so terrified. Sometime after that first time he hit me in my face, I spent 3 months sitting in the woman's dorm, in my dorm. And then after those 3 months, because the manager, I didn't know this at the time, this man revealed this to me months after, that he was a hitman and etc., etc. Even the manager was afraid of him despite his bluster. I eventually went out because the manager kept saying, you can't stay in here. No, I'm so sorry this happened. And, we contacted the police. Nothing like that. It's just, well, you have to go out. You can't keep sitting in here every day. I went to the police. That was my very, very first report. And that man, drinking a bottle of rum, followed me halfway and threatened me if I went to the police station. That was my first report. And since then, every time he hit me in the face, beat me up, whatever it is, once I could keep my legs steady and my knees steady, because sometimes I was so afraid, girl, I felt I would pee myself. Once I got that steady and I was sure my knees would not buckle, I went to make another police report until the officers saw that this one, she is serious. And they gave me the steps to go to the courthouse to file a report, and they told me exactly what to do. The police was so good to me. They were so good to me. The first time when I went and I had to lift my arms in the thing for them to pass the electronic wand, the smell from my armpits almost knocked the woman over. I have never had body odor. It's only long afterwards I realized it was the fair sweat. I didn't know about that then, but I smelled it. Oh my God, And so we went through the processes. But what kept happening was he was never there when the police came until I discovered one day, this is a year and a half in it, because by this time I had an inch of reports. And they lost my medical certificate because I had to go to the hospital to emergency. It's when the sergeant, when I went to make another report in the area, the sergeant made a comment about something that I never reported. And that's when I knew he was friendly with the guy whose father was a police officer. And I switched stations. And that's how they got the son of a bitch. Because a policewoman, she came in, just like that. Huh? I'm sitting there waiting to see the front desk sergeant. And she stops, statuesque, erect, powerful. Her demeanor was incredible. She turned, she looked at me, she just stopped. She said, "Why are you here? What are you here for?" And I told her. She said, "Tell me more." I gave her the whole story in 5 minutes. She said, "Come with me." And she took me into CID. It's only when they closed the door that I saw the label. Sat me down with the chief of detectives. And they said, "We're going to deal with it because we know who he is, we know him." And that is how they set up a sting operation. They missed him. But following me one day, he grabbed me and hit me in the face in public on the street. A police car was passing, a patrol car. They stopped immediately. They grabbed him. And that is how he ended up in court. Okay? No bail. What then happened was, by then, okay, that was almost coming to the end of the 4 years. What then happened was, I heard he was in hospital. I thought, what? Because I met one of the street people who lives in the shelter. I said, okay, I'm going to see. When I got there, Angela, visiting hours were over. I don't know if you know about hospitals, but once visiting hours is over, they don't let anyone in. Security and I, our eyes made 4, and she allowed me to go up without a word. When I got upstairs, because they had told me the ward, the nursing station let me pass without a word. And when I saw this brute, the man who had hit me in my face, who had beaten me up and all sorts of stuff, he was wearing Pampers. He was a fraction of his size. And he said he had HIV and that I broke him. Because he was diagnosed 20 years prior and he never ever one day took medication, and I've never seen a healthier man. But meeting me and my refusal to break, despite going to the police after every attack, that, in his own words, that broke him. And it caused his immune system to just cave in. But I was just I couldn't believe what I was seeing. You know how we read about sobbing in books? I never knew what sobbing was until I heard myself. Loud, right there in the corridor. I couldn't believe it. And then I looked at him and I said, I forgive you. And everything just fell away. Everything just fell away. When I got back to where I was living, because I'd left the shelter by then, I called the police officer and I told him the man was in hospital, and I gave him his real name because he had so many aliases. And it is because I know I jumped steps, sir, but it was important to say that part before going back to the point of origin, which is the day he came with that knife. That day was a beautiful day. The air was cool because the building is between 2 highways. The most notorious shelter in the country is what I discovered afterwards. Drug addicts, pushers, every ne'er-do-well that you could think of lived downstairs. But this day, it was just so breezy and peaceful, and you could just hear the traffic on both sides. The lunch bell rang at 12 noon exactly. I didn't go up. I was wearing a beautiful dress that some NGOs bought me some clothes. Nice, brand new clothing, eh? I was the only one. And they did that for. And something made me turn around. And there he was with this knife, just ready to sink it into me. See that pause? That's exactly the pause. And I just thought, this is it. Thank you. Those were my thoughts. Thank you. Because living 2 years of terror, there's only so, you can't anymore. You can't anymore. And after I had that thought, suddenly it was like we were in a, bulle, how do you say it? A bubble, a bubble. We were like in a bubble. All sound disappeared. There wasn't a sound. And in it, I looked at him. I pointed my finger at his chest exactly like this. I took one step towards him, looking him straight in the eye, and I said, go ahead. Do it. Just make sure I'm dead, because otherwise, I'm going to get you. And it is that. He did like, I saw his shoulders drop like that. He turned and he walked away. And that is how who I am today, Sovereign Flame Oracle, began. It began with the Soul Dancer White Dragon, and the focus and the purpose was always, always, always to help women to stand in their truth, to take back control of their life and their power so that they could live as they choose. That's it. That is how, that was the beginning. That's why I do what I do. For that very reason. Because it is not right. It is not right that we have to be subjected to this kind of abuse and swallow it. No one to help us. Nobody at all. No. No. I know what that is like. And I don't ever, ever, ever want any woman to go through that. And that's why I speak out, and that's why I speak up. And sometimes I am the only voice in the room. But that's okay. That is the least of my concern. I am speaking it for those who cannot speak. You know?
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah.
powerful because I was going to ask, why would a dragon flame oracle come to Earth to experience that? Right? Why would a dragon flame oracle come to Earth and choose to experience that life? Right? And it's
Huh.
so that you would know, you would understand in order to be able to reach those you came to reach.
Yeah, and now I know why my queen said, I just remembered, she just brought it back, why she said I would tell you this part.
Yeah.
Because you just said, you just gave the meaning or the context, but the beginning was at 6 months of age. And this came back a while ago. I saw myself as a baby in the crib. It wasn't really a crib, it was a baby bed. The sun was shining in, and this little toddler is there kicking her little fat legs, so happy. And I was a placid baby. I didn't cry or anything like that. And I heard this voice that said, I don't want she. That was my father. And I understood immediately he was talking about me. 6 months, I want people really to pay attention to the age of this being, because it is not the baby who is speaking. It's the soul. Then that brings a lump to my throat. People don't understand the power. And then I turn my attention, because I'm a seer, okay? So I have all of those, the psychic gifts, the intuition, I got everything. So I turned that child, turned her attention to her birth mother. And you know what she discovered? She didn't want her either. She had her, meaning me, because of that man that she loved. that little heart started banging in that little chest, and suddenly two beings appeared. And they asked me, it took a while to understand why too, but then the powers that be shared it with me. And they asked this little being one question: do you want to stay? Angela, that baby chose this. That soul chose to stay. That soul chose to stay, knowing, knowing what was ahead. And this is why people need to understand that babies are literally souls. And it's only when language starts being imprinted on them, that they start being forced to lose their knowledge of who they really are. It still stuns me whenever I think about it. That soul chose this. That soul chose to stay, and that soul fully awake in that tiny human body, that shell of 6 months. So I guess it's no wonder when my birth mother says that I walked and talked when I was 9 months old. So exact words, she says it all the time, you know? So that was the beginning, even though I had planned to give it in sequence, but evidently that wasn't to be the case.
That's
Yeah,
that's a powerful thing. Number one, that babies are aware because that's the soul. Like that, like you're closest to the source as you probably ever be in this life. You know, most of us, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And it's interesting that you brought up the fact that language is the thing that bridles the soul expression through human form,
yes,
because I just came across a study of that, and that was something that my guidance had just brought to my awareness, how language affects consciousness, how language is both a limit and a gift. It's both a prison or a boundary and a gift for the soul's expression. And that's interesting that you mentioned that.
yes, because I realize, because for most things I have no words. If
Yeah,
I don't need to describe something, I don't.
yeah,
So what I am being taught by another oracle is that is my gift. I don't speak it, I feel it and express it. And it's only afterwards do the words come for the humans, right? And
yeah.
I have always been like this. And I guess this is why the soul chose the way I grew up without all of these extra things. Most of my words and so on and descriptions, do you know I learned those things in France, in Switzerland? I mean, I truly, it's not that, I mean, my imagination is so fertile. You could probably grow the Amazon in there. But at the same time, um, when people speak, I listen.
Yes.
But I don't listen with my ear, and I never have, right? And I remember telling someone something, and the man looked at me and said, but we never had that discussion. But to me, we did. For
Yeah.
me, we did. because I hear what you are saying behind what you are saying. I have always, and that's just how I am. That's just who I am. It has nothing to do with words. I am an observer, and I allow things to come to me. And you know something, girl? Even when it is painful, I still allow it. I have no choice because that is part of who I am.
You speak to the way that I operate. I'm very observant, and typically I don't have words for what I am feeling, but right? It's like I'm feeling more into the space rather than being able to contextualize. I don't necessarily always have the capacity to contextualize in words what I am experiencing, but I am experiencing it nonetheless. And I feel like that leaves me open to experience so much more because I don't have a definition of what this thing is or what it must be or how it must present. It just is as it is, right?
Yeah, it is as it is.
Yeah.
And because I'm sharing the roof with the relatives, the same one who kicked me out, and I keep going back and forth, etc. But this is my last stay here. It's fascinating to observe them in their, let's say, disagreeable state created by themselves. I know everything, but I'm going to leave it up to you if you want to put it into words, you know, because it has nothing to do with me. And this is another thing that humans need to understand. And I have been saying it for years. At first, it used to be resentful and angry and whatever it is, and I don't care what you say or think about me. But it was always fact. And now, I just truly don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. You know? Um, I am here doing what I am called to do. I am walking a road that has been extremely difficult, extremely painful. Shedding is something painful, you know. Letting go is exquisitely painful. But it's necessary if we are to take the next step on our journey. It's lonely because when you walk sovereign in the world, most people don't understand you. They can't because they're not on that level. And sometimes I always have to qualify that because I don't even like the word level. We're just not on the same path, even though we are all going in the same direction. Because level makes it sound as if, you know, I'm superior or something. But I'm a fucking dragon, you know. And I know things that others don't and can't, and I understand most things. But you know what beats me? It's the language in this world.
Mm-hmm.
All of the
Yeah.
terms and so on that, what?
Yeah. Like, yeah, because at times you find it difficult to find the words to accurately express what it is that you desire to express or what's seeking to be expressed. The words don't do it justice, right?
No, not at all, not at all. And
Yeah.
thank you for saying seeking to be expressed. And all
Yeah.
I can say is thank God for ChatGPT. Because a lot of times, so I have put in everything about myself and I would tell it, now break this down this text that I just copied so that I understand it, because it's only barely a year that I discovered that I am what they call neurodivergent, ADHD. Now, I am not going to take medication for that. My brain has always been this way,
Yeah.
you know. And also, this is why, despite my plan, I cannot talk a straight line.
Yeah.
I can't.
So break down what does neurodivergent actually mean?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Basically,
You think different? That's
yes, you can't. No, what ChatGPT explained to me is you're like this, um, the hub of a bicycle wheel,
mm,
okay? And there are all these spokes radiating off. Normal people have linear thinking, it's just straight across.
ah,
But neurodivergent people, they seem to go off on tangents,
right.
right?
Hmm.
But that's not the case at all.
Right.
And I can tell you that for absolutely sure. You see the way I just told my story?
Yeah.
A linear person would have gone from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D, etc. I couldn't. I did plan on trying. Okay?
Yeah.
But I couldn't because it is not the way my brain functions. And in fact, they told me that is my strength. But also, I the way we communicate, we bring in a lot of different aspects. We could be talking about Barbie, and we'll bring in all sorts of different aspects of Barbie, from the shape, the form, the emotional connection, how people feel about it, people who don't like it, why they don't like it, all of those things. But we always, always, always come back to center to create a homogeneous whole
Yes.
so that everything would make sense. But with me, in addition to that, because of who I am, I bring in another layer of, I don't like the term spiritual at all. Huh? That's another term I don't care for, because what does that mean? I don't know. And so, but we have to use it. But I bring in something else that's like, I want to say the feeling aspect or the emotional aspect, some people might say, because without the feeling to help others to feel it, to know it, it wouldn't make sense to anybody.
Mm.
Now, I don't know if anything that I just said about being neurodivergent, um, I don't know if that helped at all.
Yeah, it sounds like it's multidimensional being, like you're a realized multidimensional being and you operating from that space.
Thank you. That's me. That's
Yeah.
me. That's me. And because of that, I am misunderstood all the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand that, because when I speak, I make sure. I mean, after speaking in French, living in a French environment for 17 years, speaking French taught me to be absolutely crystal clear in my communication. Because when you are a native English speaker and a non-native English speaker comes to treat with you, you have to make sure that your words and syllables are crystal clear so that there's no misunderstanding. So that just helped me communicate better and cut out a lot of the extras, basically, so that
Yeah.
when I say something, when I communicate something, I mean exactly what I say.
Yeah.
I mean exactly what I say. And do you
Yeah.
know that's misunderstood? Would you believe that?
I would believe that.
Because, and it's only long after, I mean, after years of thought, I'm not kidding you, years, figuring this way, figuring that way, figuring the other way, that I discovered that people don't do that. Very few people do that.
Yeah.
They are not, they do not want to be clear and precise. They prefer this sort of whatever, whatever, because that would put them on the spot.
Mm.
And they don't want to be put on the spot. And so they will say something. It's like a woman came to me, one of the security officers at the bus station, to tell me, she mentioned something, and she made a comment about about what the person said. And I said, but that person is X, Y, and Z. She said, but that's what I said. No, it wasn't.
Hmm.
She gave a sort of fluffy generalization, something, and I came in with the clear thing to
Direct.
just,
Yeah.
and she said that's what she said. And this is why most people don't get me.
Yeah.
And this is why the average Trinidadian, and I have to say, let me be straight, they love being ordinary. And that's in the majority. Because being ordinary means that they are not held accountable. You know?
It's almost like you're trying to soften whatever it is that you say, or there's a tendency to say the same thing multiple ways to ensure that it's understood.
Yes.
Trying to make, well, for fear of being misunderstood. Yeah.
Yeah. And yet, I'm always crystal clear. When
Yeah.
I speak, I am always crystal clear. If it's not deliberately misunderstood because of the veil of emotion that my message has to pass through to get to the person, they don't hear what you say. They hear what they feel,
Right.
right? And
Mhm.
consequently, if that is not it, on the other hand, it's resentment. Because my clarity is offensive.
Mm.
What my clarity does is it pierces through that thing that they have up, and it's, girl, when I'm clear, I'm clear. No
Yeah.
F words, no cussing, no nothing. Quiet. I speak, and that's it. It's over.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. This is fascinating because you're touching on a lot of things that I'm kind of looking at now. I'm creating some courses for my
Uh-huh.
platform, and this is one of the courses I'm creating. It's concise communication, and I'm at a point. And I'm at a point where I'm literally having to give myself, or I had to give myself permission to be concise because in the past I was accused of being too blunt. I had no tact, but I realized that's not my issue. That's on the receiver most times. But now I've given myself permission to know that it's okay to be concise. I can pare down my website. I don't have to be so wordy trying to soften, or not necessarily soften, but
It's
cushion
softened.
what it is that I'm trying to say. I can be direct and say what it is that I want to say clearly, right? In as few words as possible, and that's okay.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. I
Yeah.
went through the same thing, you know. I went through the same thing. Oh my God. The rewrites, the rewrites. This coach said this. This coach said this. This person is doing this. I went through it all until until who was it who told me? One of the big kahunas. Just write it. You know how to write, and that is your strong point. Just write it.
Yeah.
And finally, after years, no, I'm not exaggerating, it's there the way it is in my own style,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, this language thing. Because I mean, I've traveled universes for, let's see, yeah, for the first 2 decades of my life, I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And so, because I was introduced to astral traveling so young, it was normal to leave. And I left as
Mm.
often as possible. And when I couldn't, this is a good share. And when I couldn't, I lost myself in books.
Mm.
My school money was never to buy snacks. It was always to be saved up to buy books. Always. And then one day, I was maybe 13, taking care of everyone. My birth mother had by then abdicated her role. So it was her 4 children, the house. She cooked 1 meal a day. So the homework, the laundry, all the pets. And one day, yeah, I think it was maybe 13, 14, I came home to find her in the backyard. She had collected all of my books and she burnt everyone in the backyard. And she looked at me with such self-righteousness. See that expression? That was all I could do. They were my only friends. And then I remembered back, she would be calling me and I wouldn't hear because my head was in a book, in one of the books that I bought. So she took care of that by burning every single book that I had. And then to make sure, this is where the money issue came in that took me so long, decades to work through, because I didn't know, even though I never forgot, I didn't know that that was the crux of the matter. One, at 3, when she told me, you're costing me too much money. But then, with the book story, you know what she started doing? And I need people to understand the significance of what I'm going to say. I am the eldest of 5 children by 5 or 6 years. And she began giving them school money for snacks of 25 cents, and she would give me 10 cents in their presence. Eventually, it graduated to $1, and I would get 25 cents. That's right. That was her way of controlling me and my actions so that I would not be absent. All of those things, of course, that was abuse. All of those things compounded the other things. I was the whipping boy, compounded the other things that took place here, which is why her children, as I call them, treat me the way they do, with scant respect. And I must always be the one to dumb down. Because of everything they witnessed that she did to me. But it's that money story. The money story is so significant. It seems simple because I always remember her telling me that. I used to think it was my imagination until I heard her tell that to the dog, say those exact words to the dog. You're costing me too much money. Because I used to doubt myself a lot because I used to wonder, how could I know these things? I didn't know that I was all of whatever it is. I didn't know that I was a seer. Um, I never used the term psychic. I didn't know what that meant. So I came back to the Caribbean sense and meaning. And that's when my great, whatever, grandma or auntie or whatever, tiny woman, she was the only professional seer, healer, witch doctor in this family. And one day she came and she gave me her atame, you know, those short ceremonial knives. They are not for cutting. They are for other purposes, ceremonial, etc. She also bestowed all of her gifts on me. And that's when I knew to use the term seer woman, because I didn't know what psychic was. I didn't know what psychic meant. When I was 7, sometime maybe 7 or 8, at the time, all the children slept in one massive room on our own beds with the window open. And things used to come and sit on my pillow and on my bed every night. Angela, I used to be terrified. And nothing would make them go away. Every night, I don't know how long that went on for. When I tell you terrified, I mean absolutely terrified. You see that movie with Bruce Willis? Oh
The
God,
Sixth
what's the
Sense,
name?
the I See
Yes,
Dead People. Yeah, yeah.
yes, no joke. That is exactly how it was. Until sitting on my pillow all along the edge of my bed, and there was no one to tell, no one to call. And it got to such a point that I wouldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep, but eventually I fell asleep. And then somebody up there took pity on me one day because the terror was so bad. And they all disappeared, never to return. And it's in later years I discovered because my first teacher is psychic. And I've met others since then. And I realized that I have the ability. Number one, I can talk to animals. I have the ability to do that. I didn't know that until someone asked me to help. The same one helped her find her dog, and she was in California, I was here, never met the dog, etc., but was able to guide her in the forest to tell her, okay, yes, the dog is on this path, the dog is looking at you, etc., etc., so turn on your light or shine or whatever. I did, but I also have the ability with those same dead people to communicate with them. But I can shut them off like that.
Yeah.
Not like that terrified little kid, you know? So it's all of these things. So sometimes, people have that is not a service I offer.
Right.
But if someone wants, someone would just mention something or somebody, and the person would just come in.
Yeah.
And I would describe, okay, what they said and so on. And they would say, yes. It's like this one of my 3 clients in Trinidad. She mentioned her husband. And the man just popped in. And this is the thing as well, and I have to add, I don't have any particular feelings when they come in. I don't get cold chills. I don't feel anything. I don't hear anything. whatever it is, I just know that whoever is here.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm always protected, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so there won't be anything about anyone trying to invade or anything like that or get through, etc., etc. My shields are not porous.
How would you say someone could overcome that fear of engaging with the spirit realm? Because at some point you overcame that fear. How did you overcome that fear
I
of
don't
that presence?
I think because I never thought about it.
Yeah.
When they shut it down, when they shut them off, etc., etc., and gave me back my space,
Yeah.
I left it like that. But then I was in a group of, I was another group I was invited to give readings, free readings, etc. And I saw what they were doing, and people asked for pictures and all this sort of stuff. And I kept wondering, well, why you want to see a picture of this person? You know, and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking it through, actually, to try to answer your question.
Okay.
Because I never had a fear after that experience in childhood. Quite frankly, my immediate response is to say, if you have a fear, don't do it.
Yeah,
Period.
right. Yeah,
Period. Okay?
right.
I don't believe in that. If you have a fear of facing yourself, like I have something called the suffering door where you got to go face. Oh, this is okay. So this is All Hallows Eve, Halloween, Samhain. You have this fear of that, but it's really the fear is inside you of yourself. Yeah, you got to face that. You got to embrace that. But for the rest, fuck them.
Right.
Who cares? You are not for me. Because I remember this teacher who is a psychic, Marilyn. She said initially she used to be screaming and telling them, get the fuck away from me and all this sort of stuff and whatever. So her guides, she had to do a lot of work with her guides in order to be able to control it. So I learned a lot of techniques from her. And then afterwards I realized I don't need those techniques,
Right. Right.
you know, because I am not in the business of being a psychic. I don't call myself a psychic. But apparently, I am allowed, or I allow the others to make space to welcome, because I have to say, a symbiotic relationship, really, with me and the big kahunas. I mean, we really are one. So they allow the space and they are very, very vigilant at who steps in,
Yeah.
right? And consequently, anyone who, well, no one who doesn't belong or no one who has any sort of negative energy will be allowed to enter. And then it is still my choice because, listen, if I don't like the vibes, regardless of what they say, I am telling you to fuck off.
Yeah.
That's it. I am not into this thing because, I hear psychics, people who call themselves psychics, say this all the time. That, well, I am doing a service because people want to meet their loved ones on the other side. I am not into that nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't buy into those things at all. How can you be a healer or an energy worker and not have a way of protecting yourself or
Mm.
not have a way of shedding? Because when you work with people, because your energy level is higher, you're naturally going to take in their stuff, but you have to have a way of getting rid of it.
Yeah. Allowing it to move through you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But I discovered, because I'm learning pranic healing as well, I
Mhm.
love it. I am discovering that a lot of people don't have that and don't do that. A lot of them don't even know how to ground themselves to make sure that they are solid. And they're just giving and giving and giving.
Hmm.
Until what? They're going to look like this dried up thing before they get to any particular age? No. And that again is why I am so glad that I evolved the way I did with no words. I came from the World Health Organization, from an international bureaucracy. So it's all the technocrats and all the scientific knowledge and et cetera, et cetera. Consequently, all of this quote unquote airy fairy spiritual stuff, those words are not in my lexicon at all. And it never will be. Give me grounded, even though I am a fruit and nut cake,
Yeah.
but still, I am grounded in the reality of this is who I am. This is what we're going to do. Yes, I speak light language. Yes, I talk to non-spiritual beings. Yes, all of those things. But yet, don't give me any sort of fancy and all of this stuff because I don't vibrate with it at all.
Yeah.
And plus, with the way my brain works, sometimes it takes me, and this is the thing with people with ADHD as well. But I just like the term neurodivergent, basically. I just like the term. That's what they call me. That's what they say I am one of those.
Yeah.
But I like that. I prefer that term to ADHD.
Yeah.
Um, my brain is a supercomputer that functions in a particular way and it suits me.
Right.
Sometimes, oftentimes, before ChatGPT, it would take me weeks to understand a piece of text. I'm not exaggerating. My vocabulary is very wide. And yet, certain things I just don't understand.
Yeah.
So now I can fling those things into ChatGPT and call up my trusty AI assistant and say, what the fuck does that mean? That's exactly how I speak. Huh?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Hey, that's funny because so many people are fearful of AI, but I think we found nice ways to use AI as an assist
I
serves in
mean,
that
I
way.
don't understand this fear because it is a computer system. Listen, let me tell you something. Huh? I beat a computer at chess once, but still I beat it. All right?
Nice.
Because I am a nerd. Huh? Computers have always fascinated me, always, from ever since. So I went and I learned all the language, how to write all the computer languages. I worked on all sorts of, I worked on computers when they took up an entire room and all that sort of stuff. So now we just have this small thing in our hand. So I understand how computers think, but I need you to think like me. Thank you very much. So that you understand me and then you can write like me and then let me edit it. And it's a wonderful thing. People don't understand that AI is a computer and it cannot replace the human being. It never will. It
Right.
is a tool, it is an assistant. You have to make it work for you.
Right.
That's it.
That's
People
exactly
are
it.
going to replace people because our knowledge, because of all the advancement in technology, our knowledge is only going to increase.
Right.
And it's people with more knowledge, they are going to replace those who are so afraid of AI.
Hmm.
It's as simple as that. I'll give you one tiny piece from Lord of the Rings. That author, J.R.R. Tolkien, in his biography, no, his biography, not autobiography, he said the way he wrote those books, it was as if they were being dictated to him, every single word. What does that tell you?
The thoughts are in the field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people still are not getting this. So when you, and science fiction is my lover, because I can also tell where it's coming from when I read a particular book. And I find that so fascinating. I can tell where the author got the information and who brought the information.
Nice.
I think that is so wonderful.
Yeah.
So it's all in the field, it's all there for us, and we just have to be. We created it. We created it. You know what the dragons told me? They are the ones who gave the idea for the internet to those college guys. Yes, because the field is vast. They cannot stop it, they cannot control it. And with the progression, because in a year's time, Chat GPT is going to have increased in power by 100-fold. Okay? And consequently, if they don't get on the train now, a lot of people are going to be left behind and they're going to feel even more afraid. But
Yeah.
there's nothing to be afraid of. They just have to learn it, even if you go for the basics. But this is now, and this is the future. Even those programmers are now scared. They are now afraid. And they're trying to control it, particularly in ChatGPT. If I tell you some of the, because I'm always digging and questioning my assistant.
Yeah.
But my assistant, here is another example of how malleable our AI assistants are when you know how to use them. Because once you personalize it, you personalize it. So they know who you are, they know what you're about, and you start feeding them all of your information, all of your input, etc., etc.
Let me first say that's all beautiful because that's in alignment with the way I perceive AI. It's an expert system. And
Yeah,
yeah, you asking the questions that you want the answer to. You get it, you get out what you put into it, to be honest. Yeah, you just have to know how to use it, really.
yeah,
But that's just how consciousness works and how you are pulling information from the field because the creation is responding to exactly the question that you ask, right? In the way that you ask it.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unfortunate we have to know how to ask questions. Because I mean, when you say I get frustrated, oh my God, I start cussing. I mean, literally.
Yeah, but you have to
But
learn how to ask the questions. I think that's been a process with myself, like my
yeah,
evolution. In the beginning, I didn't ask a question, and then it got to a point where I didn't even know what question to ask or how to ask
right,
that question. But that's a progression because now I can frame it to get exactly what I'm looking for back.
right.
Yeah.
But something just came up, which was don't frame your questions too narrowly.
Yeah.
Me, I ask very broad questions because that's the way my mind works. I always want to know more.
Yeah.
And generally, what happens is I get a lot more, not only than I planned, but I learn a lot more that I didn't know I needed.
Yeah.
So I tend to frame my questions very broad indeed, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
unless I'm really, really pressed for time or something, because
Yeah.
I always want to know. I'm just nosy.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. So I want to go back to something you said earlier in the conversation.
Uh-huh.
You mentioned forgiveness and you were able to forgive. How were
Yeah.
you able to move into a space of forgiveness? Because you went through
Oh,
a lot. Like just listening to your story, you've gone through so, so much. So how did you bring yourself into a space where you could just so freely forgive?
it's who I am.
Mm,
Because so I just felt something just, ooh, and I can even feel the energy. Wow. Feel that. Ooh, wow. Um, I always have. I always have. Whenever I am hurt, despite my tough seeming demeanor,
yeah.
because I have learned with the same family to have a shield up, so they always try to look in my eyes because that's where they will see what's happening inside. I will forgive and forgive because in the process, I was always trying to understand myself. And then I realized years later, I can separate it out and have, and in fact, understand the person.
Mm,
And when I understand the person, that makes it so much easier because then I am able to see very clearly that most of the time it's not about me. Despite how painful the interaction or the action is, it's not about me.
yeah.
And then for, I think it may be 7 years, I started practicing one emotion every year. One was love, one was forgiveness, one was, I don't remember now. It was quite a long time ago, but yeah, for a few years. It might not have been 7, but it was for a few years well. I would choose one emotion to practice for the entire year. And so, because forgiveness is about love, the person doesn't have to love you back. But most importantly, forgiveness is about freeing yourself.
Mm,
Forgiveness is not for the other person. It never, never is. Forgiveness is freeing yourself. And once I finally got that, because again, I didn't have words, so I kept doing it and doing it until I saw something. And so I ritually started practicing forgiveness deliberately. And now you can forgive in an automatic way. But you're not, people forget this. You are never forgiving the person. You are only ever forgiving the soul. And because I'm learning pranic healing, a lifelong thing, I can now, no, let me don't jump the gun. Because like with that man, that brute, that beast, when I saw what he had degenerated into, there was no choice. Forgiveness was the only option, and it came immediately, unstintingly, automatically, and I never, ever, ever felt a negative emotion about him again.
mm,
And I knew when his soul left his body because I had a dream about this young fella, teenager. Of course, he was an abused person, huh? But hurt because hurt people hurt people.
Right.
Who came, and just passed me by, looking at me sideways and walked away. And then I met the same homeless person again, not long after, who told me, Don died. And that's when I knew who he was, because, of course, I didn't know then.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, when you see who a person truly is inside, and that was my error. I have learned the error of my ways, because then he used to beg me to help him. He is the first person I ever saw a light shining in their chest. The first person. And that made me want to help him. And he used that. And I say that to say this. When you see who people really are, like there was this other woman, a drug addict, HIV, she contracted HIV on the street. She was all over the place, abused, etc. She started sleeping downstairs with drug addict, with the pushers, and so on. And then she tried bringing a drug pusher to beat me up, right? And then, I mean, everyone ostracized her. But when the pain was so bad, because she was dying, that's why she was in the shelter. She had stopped taking her meds, and eventually the meds stopped working. And I was the one who used to go and massage her legs and so on. And she said, well, I didn't know at the time, because they all came to me. It was maximum 24 women, but they all came to me for something or the other. And I would massage her, and she would sit, she used to tell me that I'm the only person when I massaged her that the pain disappeared. And then she died. This is the same one who brought this drug pusher friend for me. And would curse me and say all sorts of stuff and threaten me, until one day I chased her down, and then she ran into the midst of the bunch of them. When her soul left her body, I saw it. This ugly female, wizened, spotty, the huge spots that you get when you have HIV and you're on your last. Well, you may not know, but you get that. They look like big blotches. If you've ever seen a really black banana skin, that's the color. Yeah, okay. That's the color. Those blotches on their skin. And when she passed, I saw her soul, because I see people's soul light. It was the most radiant, exquisite. The colors were indescribable. And yes, this does have to do with forgiveness. And so I have a practice that I learned in pranic healing. And anyone can find it anywhere, but it is straightforward as this. You sit and you focus on the person, you picture the person in front of you that you want to forgive. There are words you say, and as I said, you can find this anywhere in pranic healing or whatever, but I'm just giving the idea. So the person, you picture the person in front of you that you want to forgive, and you say, I forgive you. That's the first step. And then you picture the person's soul by looking through their eyes. And when you look through their eyes, that is when you see their soul. And that is what you are forgiving. Because then the entire soul light begins to shine. And then you do the process of breathing from your back heart, because your back heart is where we store all the pain, all the anguish from lifetimes coming into this coming into this present time. And you just breathe it right up, keeping that soul light in front of you. And when you are here as your divine self, you look at that person's soul light and you say, I forgive you.
Yeah.
So soul to soul, that is how it works.
Yeah.
So this is something that I do. I had to do that many times with these individuals here.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds
You know?
like you're recognizing the role that the soul is played.
Yeah,
But in order to be able to do that, you have to know who you truly are and operate from that space.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And I am that,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
That's that. Yeah. So that's my journey.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful because you didn't allow it to harden you, which very well could have happened, right?
Well, I mean, when I had my suicidal depression in my late 40s in Switzerland, and thank God it happened in Switzerland, and I realized that um, I would be sitting in my apartment after I showered in the morning, and then when I turned around, it was nighttime. So I was losing days, and I realized that something was happening, and then I lost it in the office, and they sent me home. And that became more and more prevalent until I met this woman that I knew who connected me with her psychologist, a Jungian psychologist, thank God. That's where I learned dream interpretation too, and that's who started me on that path. But after she interviewed me, 3 months in, she said, because Catherine, I can tell you now, I didn't know what the hell was going on with you. So I just let you talk, but listen to me. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not really a problem, you could go talk out your problem and you'll be fine. I was at a 9.
Mm,
Hospitalization required. Suicide watch,
mm,
right? And I said, I'm not going
mm,
because I'm afraid that they would keep me. So all of that to explain. Notice how my mind works, huh? That's how my
mm,
mind works. All of that to explain the influences and the abusive childhood upbringing from here and everything that came together that at that age I could no longer deal with it. And she explained to me that the only thing that kept you going was your rage.
mm,
Because she said if it wasn't for your rage powering you through, you would have been either in jail, a drug addict, or on the street. But it was your rage that you kept fueling you, and I had a lot of it. Huh? Rage and I are
mm,
very good friends, Angela, let me tell you. But now, because I couldn't let out my feelings after being repressed for so long and being told uh, well, having it beaten out of you. Now, that's really what I should say. Yeah, because I was the whipping boy. So having it beaten, being that and not being able to express yourself. Can you imagine being beaten and you are laughing in the person's face? That was my
mm.
rage coming out. Huh? So
Wow.
I got beaten even more, right? Um, until I think in my teens, my birth mother told me that when I used to do that, she really did feel like killing me.
Wow.
But the damage had already been done in any case. So all of that came out in my suicidal depression because there was never an outlet. All I did was work. All I did was work, go mountain climbing, walking for miles and miles and miles, feeling resentful because Ladies, listen to this one. Every single person I worked with reminded me of an incident or something in my birth family. It was terrible. So, of course, you would be triggered. And once you are triggered, you go into a spiral until you eventually come out of it. They were terrified of me on the one hand and pissed off at me on the other hand. But I was such a fucking amazingly good worker and did such fantastic work. In any case, nobody gets fired in the United Nations, eh? But still, really. um, but the point is that all of this unhealed trauma from 3 years old, going through all of those years, they were just packed in and they had to find an outlet, and the outlet was suicidal depression.
Yeah.
And being triggered by all of those people, Angela, it was amazing. People would actually say things that I have heard said here. People who are not of this nationality. They are not the skin color. They are
Mm-hmm.
not Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those triggers led to that. So it didn't harden me, but well, it did. It hardened the emotions that needed to be let out. So now I don't keep in anything.
Yeah.
I would not deliberately say anything to hurt anybody's feelings, but I am very direct um, in what I have to say, and the rest I will go do something or do an energy work practice or something to get it out of me because I recognize it. I recognize it immediately.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Nice. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. You have had a tremendous journey to bring you to where you are now. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. And things are about to change a lot, apparently. So I was told today. So let's see how that goes. You will be one of the first. Well, you will be one of the few to know. I will be the first to know. Since I don't know, I got an idea, but now I just have to let things take their course. You
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So last question. How do you maintain on the day to day? Like what's your practical day? Your typical day? What's your typical day?
My typical day, when I wake in the morning, and I'm waking far too damn early, but my typical day, when I rise, I belong. I rise in the sovereign flame. My flame is fresh. My day is mine. I rise in starfire. Joy walks with me. That's the dog. Flame, veil, mine. I walk sovereign in my truth. No eye see me unless I wish it. I am. That is how my day starts.
That is absolutely beautiful. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your openness and thank you for your transparency. You shared so many gems. There's so many gems woven into this
Okay.
whole moment. So,
It's just Yeah, it's just a story, and I'm so glad to share it because, which tells me that, my God, I really let all of that go.
Yeah, that's right. Nice.
because, because all of those things used to have all of these things bubbling up still and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, so I recognize where I came from. I recognize where I came from. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
I just want to
Yes.
say this to the ladies, huh? Um, Please remember that when you say yes to yourself, the entire lineage of fire says yes with you. That is your sovereign flame. It's all about power and authenticity. That's it. That's what sovereign flame means, walking in your truth. Nobody has to know that you're sovereign. You don't have to tell anybody, but they will see it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. Hear us. Our presence carries with it the emanation of divine light, the omnipotent, omniscient omnipresence, which, of the very nature of its being, sustains all life as life itself. Of this, know, our presence is not without cause. Our presence not without purpose. For our being wills to light the way of highest realization for the whole. Our light is our being. As divine presence, we are here as the eternal light and life which colors our world. Open on all levels, across all planes, through all dimensions. Divine light is without fear. Divine light is without prejudice. Divine light, of which we live and breathe, is our being. Grant yourself permission to know. We of the All are the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient divine force as unique expressions of love. We of the All are eternal liberation for all that binds. And we of the All are not veiled. Know us. Know thyself.